everyone! Today I'm going to show you how I put on my Jamberry nail wraps. And today I am wearing Sweet Splash, which is a Sister Style exclusive this month. And then my accent is from Style Box this past March. So first, before I begin putting the jams on, I do some prep, which includes using this cuticle remover. Sometimes I get invisible cuticle, and so I want to make sure I get that off. So I use this, and then I use this orange stick to scrape it off, basically, and then wash it off. Then after that, I use this dish soap. You want to use dish soap because it doesn't have any nourishing agents in it. And we're trying to remove all the oils off of our nail beds before we apply, so use this. Next, you want to use alcohol with just a cotton ball or one of those square cotton swabs. If you don't have alcohol, you can also use vinegar, but don't use acetone or nail polish remover because sometimes that as well has nourishing agents in it. Today I'm going to use the nail prep wipe though that comes in your kit. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and use that first. And I really do all of them, and then before I apply each one, I come back and do it again. And then if you notice that while you're using a cotton swab or using this and wiping, you have like an edge because you used to do gels or used to do acrylics and your nail might be a little bit damaged, you can use the buffer because you want to make sure that your nail bed is smooth. Otherwise you'll end up with like a little bump in your Jamberry nail wrap. Alright, so let's get started. First I'm going to turn on my heater. I don't do that usually, but because I only have 2 jams right now, I'm going to just make sure it gets a little bit hot. But before I turn on the heater, I usually measure them out, which means I just put it on my nail and kind of look and see where I want to trim it. And I get all that done for every single nail before I turn on the heater just to save electricity. But since I only have 2, I want it to get warm. Okay, so I've trimmed that to the size of my nail. And the reason I do that is because look how much I have left over. This was from my pinky, this one. And you can use that later to do like just a tip. So I always save them. And then I'm going to trim my thumb doing the same thing. I just kind of hold it and like kind of see where I want to cut it. And then I have all that extra. And then also a little trick that I do for the thumb, because thumbs aren't really very round and the wrap is I cut a tiny little sliver off the end to make it a little bit more square. So now it's not so round. Alright, so I'm going to wipe my nails again because I've touched them in between wiping them. Alright, then next I'm going to take my orange stick and I'm just going to use it to peel back the very, very top, or end in this case. And then I'm just going to lift it off like that. And then the backing is clear, so I always try to have a napkin to set it on, otherwise you'll lose them and your dog will eat them. So now that I have it on the orange stick and I'm not touching it, I'm going to set it in front of the heater until I see it curl slightly or until I think that it's kind of flexible. Okay, so now looking at it, I can see that it's like moving and curling a little bit. So now it's ready to be put on my nail. So then I just come back and line it up and don't get it on my cuticle. Then I take my cuticle pusher and I start in the middle and push down and then work my way from the middle to the sides. This helps keep any bubbles out. And then when I think that I've got it on there pretty good, I put my finger in front of the heater and then push down. So now that's on there pretty good. I'm gonna let it cool before I do anything else. So I'm gonna move on to my next finger, which is my thumb. So I do the same thing. I use the orange stick to peel back the top and get it onto my orange stick at the very end. Put it in front of the heater. I do it for like 5 or 6 seconds, but you can start seeing it curl a little bit and get really flexible. See, so it's not flat anymore. And then I line it up with where I want it to go. All right, use my cuticle pusher and push down from the middle and then the sides. And then again back in front of the heater until obviously your finger gets hot and you can't take it anymore. And push down with just my hand. So I'm gonna come back and look and make sure I don't have any bubbles or anything like that. Looks okay. If I had a lot of excess at this point, I would go ahead and trim it, but I really don't, so I'm not gonna do that for either. All right, next, instead of filing, I actually use nail clippers and clip my nail along with some of the wrap. Or the other way around. Clip the wrap with some of the nail. And then if I didn't clip very straight, that's when I would come in and use my file just to make sure I don't have any weird jagged edges, because I'm not the best nail clipper. And I'm using the, Jamberry method of filing downwards. Okay, so now that I'm done with that, usually I don't have to file, but it kind of clips crooked. Once I'm done with that, I use the baggie method. So what I'm gonna do is just take a regular sandwich bag. Oh, let me grab one. All right. Didn't quite have everything I needed. Okay. Take a regular sandwich bag like this, and I'm gonna heat my nail in front of the heater again. And then once it's really hot, I'm going to wrap my finger in the sandwich bag and push. What it's doing is creating really tight pressure to get a really great seal. So I'm gonna do the same thing with my thumb. And then push again. Now some people like to wrap their finger first and then stick it in front of the heater, but it gets too hot to me, and I don't like the smell of plastic bags and heat. So that's it. If I have any bubbles or puckers, or let's say I know that I'm, gardening or something the next day, and I really want to make sure that my edges are sealed, I'll actually get my curling iron out, and I will, turn it on for 10 seconds or 15 seconds. I'll hold it while it's getting hot so it doesn't get too hot, and then I'll unplug it, and then I will press my nail to the curling iron like this, and that helps to seal in the edges. And that's about it. I usually do it before I go to bed, so then when I wake up in the morning I use cuticle oil and put it on and head to work with my beautiful Jamberry.